Joining us now, Joe diGenova, legal analyst, former U.S. attorney to the District of Columbia. Joe, good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you here, as always. I just wanted you to hear something here. Alan Dershowitz yesterday was on ABC This Week with George Stephanopoulos and Dan Abrams, and he talked about the Mueller investigation and what he thinks is inside the Mueller report. We'd like to get your response to it.
I think the report is going to be devastating to the president, and I know that the president's team is already working on a response to the report. And so at some point, when the report's made public, and that's a very hard question considering the new Attorney General, who has the authority to decide when and under what circumstance to make it public, it will be made public probably with a response alongside. The president will say, look, it's political. There's their account and there's our account, and then the American public will have to judge the credibility.
For you to say it's devastating is really something.
All right, so he said it's devastating. How does he know what's in the report?
He doesn't know. He's trying to re-ingratiate himself with people up on the Cape so he can have lunch again up there. This is ridiculous. This is Alan Dershowitz trying to be the center of attention. I think it's goofy, uninformative, unhelpful. I mean, I could say it's going to be a beautiful report. It's going to have colors, and there are going to be pages with photographs of people being framed by Bob Mueller and others. I mean, it's an idiotic statement. Of course it's going to have some political consequence because we know that Mueller is the Antichrist. And so as a result of his fight with the President of the United States over no crime, he's going to have to justify his existence. So I assume he's going to say some things that are not going to be particularly attractive, but he's not going to charge the President with a crime because he can't, number one, under the Constitution, and number two, because there's no evidence that the President personally did anything. The Mueller investigation is a joke, has been a joke, should be over. And, whatever is going to be released will be decided by the Department of Justice. Or whatever is published could very well be leaked by Andrew Weissman because he's an absolute thug and he works for Mueller. So who knows? I mean, these are all Dems running the Mueller investigation. It could be leaked without the permission of the department.
Right, and when you say the permission of the department, that includes Matt Whitaker, right? The new acting director, or the acting attorney general. He would have to make a decision like this, right?
Yes, because Rosenstein has been removed from supervising the Mueller investigation. He should have been removed by Jeff Sessions a long time ago for a conflict of interest over his role in the firing of Comey, but for some reasons Sessions couldn't figure out what time or what day of the week it was.
I want to ask you, just like in retrospect, before we get to the release of the Mueller investigation, have you been pretty satisfied with the president's strategy with how to grapple with the existence of Bob Mueller in public? Did he not go far enough? Should he have ended the Mueller investigation, or do you think that it's just been good that the president keeps reminding the American people that he's being unfairly targeted?
Oh, I think the latter. I mean, the president has handled this beautifully. I think the criticism of Mueller was warranted. I think firing him would have been a political mistake. He didn't need to do that. He had his own constitutional protections. I think the existence of the Mueller probe has actually helped the president through a process. I think the American people have concluded quite properly that the president has been treated unfairly since the beginning of this. I think they already accept the notion that there was a brazen plot to exonerate Hillary Clinton in 2016 and ultimately to frame Donald Trump with a crime he didn't commit. The American people already accept that, and they already accept that the Mueller probe is political, unjustified, and should end. So the president's doing it perfectly. He'll have his opportunity to fight back when anything becomes public. By the way, I'm not sure. Even if Congress decides they want to subpoena the report, it has grand jury information. They're under no obligation to release that report to anybody.
Well, I just want to point out, because you brought it up too, that there's a new book out from Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie, who worked for the president's election campaign. They interviewed the president about the existence of the Mueller investigation. The president said what you said, Joe. He said, quote, "I think it makes my base stronger. I would have never said this to you, but I think the level of love now is far greater than when we won." I don't know. What do you think, Mike? Turning to the vice president, and the vice president says, "As strong or stronger." The Mueller investigation in the end has helped the president, he says.
Well, I think in some ways it has. I think it has been, however, a stone around his neck in foreign relations. There's no doubt that foreign leaders ask about the investigation and how it's going. The president himself views that as a drag on his presidency, but I must say, no matter what the drag on his presidency has been amazingly successful in domestic and foreign policy. And I think over the long run, history will, again, it will be shown that this was part of a plot, and that Mueller played his role beautifully with the assistance of Rod Rosenstein, who is the single most fundamentally dishonest lawyer in America and public official. Rod Rosenstein, I hope, will be fired in a reasonable period of time. He deserves the guillotine.
Wow. Comey and Lynch, we now have dates for their appearance before Congress. We know that James Comey wants to make this a public appearance, obviously, so he can grandstand. Can they run the clock out until January so that they can avoid having to do this altogether?
Of course they can. Both Lynch and Comey can run the clock out. They can refuse to appear. They can force a lawsuit. They can move to quash the subpoenas. This is an embarrassment by Gowdy and Goodlatte to stand up and pound their chest on television claiming they're going to get to the bottom of this. Both of them are an embarrassment to the concept of oversight. To issue a subpoena at this 11th hour, it's 11:59, by the way. It's not just the 11th hour. I mean, this is an embarrassment to all Republicans who believe in legitimate oversight. Trey Gowdy punted on Benghazi, took a dive. Goodlatte, all of a sudden, he's Mr. Tough Guy. He's Harvey Milquetoast, for heaven's sakes. These people have done severe damage to the concept of oversight, and I can assure you, when Elijah Cummings and Jerry Nadler take over, they won't be as stupid as Goodlatte and Gowdy have been. I mean, this is as bad as it gets for Republicans. Just watching Gowdy on television, I want to slap him across the face.
Joe, if they actually succeed in getting James Comey to actually show up to Congress on December 3rd, should they have that in public or behind closed doors? What would be more productive?
It should be behind closed doors, because that's the only way to have effective questioning. Of course Comey doesn't want it behind closed doors, because he gets 30 minutes from good questioners like John Ratliff from Texas and others. I mean, this is exactly what he doesn't want. He doesn't want Jordan to be able to question him for 30 minutes at a pop. So a public hearing is a joke. Republicans don't know how to manage public hearings. Democrats are good at breaking them up. Like, you know, they're like the clowns crossing the border in San Isidro. That's what the Democrats are. They're border crossers in the garb of congressmen and congresswomen. No, this should be behind closed doors. So that if it's in public, Comey can say, "Oh, that's classified. I can't talk about it." First of all, they're never going to get him there because they waited too long. And this is all a show by Gowdy and Goodlatte, two of the most ineffective, feckless, stupid overseers in the history of the Congress.
All right, Joe, well, when we have you on next time, we're going to find out how you really feel about them.
Yeah. Of course.
Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next week.